1. You are my favourite exclave, a cast-off core and foreign centre. On these brisk Teutonic nights, 3 ghosts haunt your castle, Sambian bishops fretting over the Altstadt's quaint cathedral, with its tilted pews and dilapidated roof. What to be done, what to be done, mutters the pious Johann Clare. The wind zigzags through his robes, and up his zebra-striped ribs. 2. They were given Naipoff at the Philosopher's Isle for the site, the spot of the new, bigger church. There the jellied ground squelched, bubbling below their feet, letting them sink into the pragal. Excrement, cried the Königsberg bishop. 3 zinc crosses hung around his neck. One proud fellow. We'll never build on this boggy sinkhole. Fret not, my Lord Bishop, rose a voice from the crowd. The problem will surely be overcome. Three. And overcome it was. If my memory serves me without error, I was residing nearby when they came for the posts. And what a racket they made, downing 10 to 13 trees a day. But they managed to gather just enough within a few days. Not too much bother, I suppose. A series of more exotic woods were considered first, but that idea was soon thought to be quite bizarre, seeing as these posts were to be forced upright into the ground, forming a much-needed primary foundation for the foundation of the new, grander church. Oak was soon agreed upon, though. Stronger than most men's words, they say. Stronger than mine, without doubt. 4. My talents weren't needed for a few more years. Not before the work was done and the structure was sound. Roots to the cathedral, that was my area. And roots to the cathedral, one that stood on a muddy skerry surrounded by the pragal, were not easy to conjure up. They coaxed me to solve the problem when Gustav, the roofer's son, told them about my successes under Leonard Euler, who taught a math the town planners class at the college. Bore and a half was that man, and you can quote me on that. Weary of all the holy seal that had flooded the town, me and my employees came across some old Roman plans that showed an arch structure that jutted out from one end of the Grand Canal and landed on the other. Just the job. Took the town 7 of these what-have-yous to make sure everyone from all over the town could get to the cathedral. 5. Though it was really more of a reward, a prize for a respected colleague, Mikhail saw the city as a sort of gift, almost like a toy that he had received from a close relative who was eager to see him explore it, see what he could do with it, maybe discover some practical purpose for it. Mikhail always felt obliged to treat gifts this way. Still, he stayed away for the first few weeks. The people would require some time to adjust before they welcomed the guy who, as they might see it, was largely to blame for this queerly obtrusive jolt to their city. It was almost as though they were uprooted, shuttled from their houses to a wholly other city, a soulless replica of that which had made them feel so at home. At least that's how Mikhail would have felt, as though a city that used to be familiar to him had suffered some sort of very subtle topological metamorphosis. It's odd, he had thought to himself, to just alter the way you refer to a place. 6. He made sure to see the town before the end of May, as he hoped to evade the nettlesome heat waves of early summer. He landed on the 17th, after a queasy 14 hours on the road. Ever more aware of the need to demonstrate a zealous appetence, heartfelt or not, to master and enjoy the town, he employed an escort, an esteemed local professor named Leonard Euler, whose exhaustless knowledge of the town's past and present layout made the old codger just about the best man for the job. 7. Euler spoke with much awe for the cathedral. He cursed the British raids of '44 that had effectively levelled it. Its charred towers loomed over the Altstadt as Euler elucidated for Michael the structure's history. You see, the problem with a cathedral put where we put it, amidst a river that is how to make it accessible to the masses. Bridges, that's how. Lots of them, too. 6 was a bit skimpy, it was agreed, but 8 or more was clearly overkill, so a heptad of bridges was what we got. A curious fact, a puzzle that I sometimes give to my Math for Civil Architects class. If you follow a strictly forward route, it is judged to be impossible to cross every bridge 3 subtract 2 times. Mikhail's eyebrows shot up. Here was a qualm he could settle. The city would love him for it, for practicality's sake at least. 8. Mikhail's research quickly took him to the Martin von Wallenroth Library, conveniently located not too far from the cathedral. He was still there 4 hours later, nauseated upon the ocean of quickly sketched maps that flowed in and out of stack upon stack of pertinent but useless volumes. He exhaled a despaired but not wounded wail as he arose from his chair, headed to the window, and peered out onto the rear of the cathedral. The jarred frames of the shadowed windows awkwardly moulded the abundance of sunbeams that leaked onto the old choir. Mikhail could easily make out a rather solemn fellow, frozen, or petrified perhaps, near to where the altar presumably would have stood. He had seen this before, or pictures of it at least. It was Cornelius Floridorant's sculpture of Albert, Duke of Prussia, and 37th leader of the Teutonic Order. 9. As could be expected, Al did not look his best on his deathbed. Not a statue at all. Beckoned to his side, the Duke's choice bishop, Johann, told him jokes to pass the time. Why did the bishop walk to the opposite side of the avenue? To bless it. Ha! Delightful, Johann. Tell me, I have given a lot, haven't I? To the faith, I mean. Not my one, though. Come now, you know you've vexed us all quite a bit, don't you, Al? You and that diet. Duchies don't fall out of the sky, Johann. I'll cut to the point, shall I? A pause of some length followed, suggesting that the Duke wished to expound upon a possibly sensitive topic. He coughed a few times, then allowed his gaze to fall wantonly upon the bishop. I've commissioned a statue of me, and I think it ought to stand in the chapel that you built, that is, and I only tell you because it is that chapel, and I'll always think of it like that. Now look, don't sigh, I knew you wouldn't like the idea, but the man's been picked, and the installation date's been fixed. 10. The bishop didn't mind too much. Unbeknownst to the Duke, the bishop held some respect for the works of Cornelius Floristorant, the commissioned sculptor. He wrote his prize-winning senior project on him. The sculptor did not step foot in Königsberg before the Duke died, devoting the first weeks of his sojourn to studying the plenitude of existing likenesses. Of course, the Duke never intended the work to divulge the effete guise of his elderly epoch. 40 would be best, he felt. Not too old, but ripened enough to possess some power in posture. The prep work being done, the chisel quivered over the chosen wood. 11. Oh, blast! The bishop ran over to the fallen statue. After its installation, the base, a work of the most scrumptious materials, was quickly eaten away by the church mice. It now leant upon thick strips of newspaper, furtively put between 2 of its corners. Two exotic-looking choir boys rushed to help the bishop lift the work, jostling it back onto its makeshift base. The bishop arose, then began to rearrange the two zinc crosses that hung from his neck. Ah, Königsberg, it's my favorite oblast.